What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, and right now I want to give you guys my review of the second episode of the 2020 adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand. So this is episode 2. Now, if you'll remember, I gave the first episode a good, positive review. Even though I didn't love the story structure, all the flashbacks, all the flash forwards, and the fact that it really only focused on a couple key characters being Stu Redman, Franny, and Harold Lauder, just kind of focusing on a couple. Flash forwards, flashbacks, and all that. I gave it a positive review because it did feel like The Stand. I felt the story being told, and I kind of got into the rhythm that they were telling the story in. And that was good. And then episode 2 happened. Episode 2 happened. And I'm not in the rhythm anymore. I don't like this way of telling the story. Again, they chose to tell the story with flashbacks, flash forwards, flash sideways, not telling the story in a linear fashion. This episode focused on Larry Underwood's journey. And it also focused on Lloyd Henreid's journey. So you had Larry Underwood, who is very much in Mother Abigail's camp, and you had Lloyd Henreid, who's very much in Randall Flagg's camp. And we got a little bit more of Randall Flagg in this episode, and I was happy that we got more of Randall Flagg. We definitely got more of a flavor on how Skarsgård is going to approach the character, and I really like it. It's different than the 1994 version, but it's also very effective. So I like the Randall Flagg portrayal. What I don't like is the fact that, again, they're flashing forward and flashing back and flashing sideways, and they're not telling a linear story. And this is a story that I believe should be told in a linear fashion, from beginning to end. Forget all the flashbacks. Tell it as it happens. Because a story like this is about the journey. Literally, The Stand is about a journey. and that journey begins with Captain Trips. And it ends in Las Vegas for 4 of them. It ends in Las Vegas, the 4 main characters. And it's about the journey. Okay? And we're being robbed of the journey the way that they're telling the story. We are not getting a sense of the journey. We're not getting a sense of we're not getting the emotional weight of the journey that these people go on because, well, we're running out of steam telling this story. Let's just flash forward. Okay. Now we gotta flash back and give some. No. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. The first episode, I gave it a pass because the first episode developed a little rhythm. It does not work here. I wanted to see Larry Underwood's journey. I wanted to see, him realize what was happening around him, being on the cusp of fame, realizing what's happening around him, watching his mother succumb, having that conversation with his mother where she berates him, where we come to learn that he's in deep with loan sharks, where he ends up being the last man in New York, and he ends up having to run into Rita and leave the city through the Lincoln Tunnel. I mean, so much of this, we've been robbed of the journey of The Stand because they're just flashing back to key pivotal scenes in the journey of our characters. All right, we pick up in this movie with Stu and Mother Abigail and Franny and Harold. We pick up with this movie with them in Boulder already. Or in this episode, with them in Boulder already. We haven't even seen Stu get to Hemingford home yet. But we find them in Boulder. I guarantee you that in an episode or 2, we're going to have Stu and Franny and Harold make it to Hemingford home. Guys, The Stand is one of my favorite stories ever told. And this is frustrating me. It's frustrating to me. I really hope that they abandon this form of storytelling soon. My guess is next episode they're going to focus on somebody else. Be it probably Nick Andros. They've done Stu, Franny, and Harold. They've done Larry. They've done, they touched on Nadine a bit now. They've touched on Lloyd Henreid. My guess is we're going to get Nick Andros and Tom Cullen, and probably Ray Bretner, which we were introduced to Ray Bretner for the first time in this episode. And I didn't care for the portrayal. It wasn't that Ray was now a woman and was no longer a male in the form of Ralph Bretner. It wasn't that. It was just I didn't care for the portrayal because I always pictured Ralph as kind of this just happy-go-lucky, easygoing guy. And that's not what I got in this version. But albeit the time we spent with Ray was extremely limited. Maybe we'll still get that. My guess is they're just going to focus on Nick and Tom and maybe Ray in the next episode. And we're going to get flash forwards and flashbacks and flash sideways and flash overs and flash unders. And it's going to be, again, very convoluted, overly complicated storytelling that doesn't have to be that way if they just decided to tell a linear story that focused on the journey. So I am kind of annoyed by it. There's still good stuff here. Absolutely. The performances are top-notch. Absolutely top-notch. The guy they chose to play Larry, great performance in episode 1. Having Heather Graham there playing Rita, knowing what the fate of Rita is going to be, it all worked. Amber Heard as Nadine is not really the Nadine that I used to picture in my head, or from the 1994 version, but I think there's a lot of potential there as well. The performances were good across the board. I just hate the way they're telling the story. I hate it. I gave them the benefit of the doubt in episode 1, but now I'm here to say I hate it. I still have hope. Like I said, there's a lot of good performances here, a lot of talented people involved, and there's still a lot of story to tell. So my hope is that eventually they decide to get everybody caught up in the same spot, and then they tell a linear story from there. Because I just do not care for this broken up story structure. That's my take on episode 2 of The Stand. I'm really sad that I haven't loved it. But there's a lot of potential. It is my favorite story of all time. So I can't wait for episode 3. I can't wait. So here we are. Guys, what did you think of episode 2 of The Stand? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Put out a lot of content. Want to make sure that you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me here at the OQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.